Good evening. If everyone can make their way to their seats, we can begin what will be a very enjoyable evening. Thank you all. Good evening and thank you for being here. I'm Bob Lee. I work with ESPN. I've got a bunch of scripted things I'm going to say, but I think I speak for everybody in this room with the sense of awe and wonderment we have of what we have just seen. How about a round of applause for what's been accomplished here at the National Soccer Hall of Fame? Whether you are a millennial or Gen X or a baby boomer, there's something that's relevant there, and it's great. So welcome to tonight's honorees and inductees, the Hall of Fame class of 2018, their family and their friends, to all who have worked so hard to make this new Hall of Fame a reality, to those from every position on the field, from the amateur ranks to the highest levels of the professional side, and to those members of the Hall of Fame who are here in attendance. To all friends of the beautiful game, welcome tonight. This is a very special day. And for those men and women whom we honor in these next minutes, certainly this is an occasion they will certainly remember for the rest of their lives. And for all associated with the game, we gather in this remarkable structure with the Hall of Fame restored to a brick and mortar reality. Now, that's a rather 20th century phrase for an environment that is decidedly, as we have seen, as modern and as relevant as any conceived. There is a lot to celebrate tonight. We trust we will do it properly. And as we begin, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a man who in his first months in office has already overseen the bid which has resulted in the awarding of the 2026 World Cup to North America as he leads the U.S. Soccer Federation, U.S. Soccer, towards new goals and continued growth. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to bring you U.S. Soccer President Carlos Cordeiro. Good evening, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Bob. Distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be here today. Baseball has Cooperstown. Basketball has Springfield. Football has Canton. And hockey has Toronto. And as of today, America has a brand new National Soccer Hall of Fame right here in Frisco. Just imagine the incredible visit a young boy or girl will have here, looking up at that statue outside, that majestic bicycle kick, seeing the game balls our players touched, the jerseys they wore, the trophies they won, honoring our heroes, all the members of our Hall of Fame who embody the spirit and passion of soccer in our country, which as of today will include Brad Friedel, Tiffeny Milbrett, Cindy Parlow, Dr. Bob Contiguglia, and Don Garber. I'd ask all our Hall of Famers, past and present, to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for inspiring us all. Today, we also salute this year's recipient of the Colin Joes Media Award, the voice of American soccer, JP Dellacamera. On behalf of all of us at U.S. Soccer, including my predecessor, Sunil Gulati, our CEO, Dan Flynn, both of whom are here tonight, we're honored at U.S. Soccer to be a partner in this new Hall of Fame. But it's only possible because of the commitment and investment of so many people and organizations, and we thank them all. The City of Frisco and the Frisco Independent School District. Where are you? Back there. FC Dallas and the Hunt family, especially Norma, and two pioneers of the game, Clark and Dan, your husband and father would be so proud. Thank you. Of course, this is only just the beginning. Today, because of the efforts of so many of you here in this room, soccer in America is more popular than ever. And in the years to come, we look forward to adding more exhibits as collegiate soccer, our professional leagues, and the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup continue to grow. When our women's national team defends their World Cup title next year, when our men reach new heights in 2022, and when the United States co-hosts the most extraordinary World Cup ever right here in America in 2026. After all, this Hall of Fame isn't just a celebration of our past, it's an inspiration for our future. When a young girl or boy comes here, we hope they'll say to themselves, I can wear that jersey, I can play in that tournament, I can bring home that trophy. In this way, our Soccer Hall of Fame is going to inspire generations to come and help us come closer together to the dream we all share, making soccer the preeminent sport in the United States. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to the class of 2018. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. This structure, this stadium, the new National Soccer Hall of Fame, it's all part of the legacy now of the Hunt family's contribution to this sport. Dan Hunt is in his third year as the president of FC Dallas. He spent years, along with his father Lamar, conceiving and managing the construction of Toyota Stadium. And under his leadership, FC Dallas is recognized as the leader in youth development in soccer in North America. On this historic night, it is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to bring up Dan Hunt.
I appreciate that very much. Hello, everyone. On behalf of my entire family, I want to welcome you to Frisco, Texas, and the new National Soccer Hall of Fame. I would like to take a moment to recognize my amazing wife, Tony. Thank you for all of your support in everything that is soccer and life. To my brother and business partner, Clark, along with his wife, Tavia, who fought every step of the way with me to bring this amazing project to life. Thank you. And finally, our mother, Norma Hunt, for her constant encouragement in everything that we do. Thank you, Mom. I'm often asked how FC Dallas wound up here in Frisco. The best way that I can answer that question is to borrow a favorite saying of my grandfather, H.L. Hunt. He would tell people in the oil business that it is better to be lucky than good. Our luck was that my dad, Lamar Hunt, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame class of 1982, read a story in the Dallas Morning News about city manager George Purifoy and what he was doing to help craft Frisco into a major economic player in North Texas. After meeting with George for lunch, they settled on framework to bring FC Dallas to Frisco and build a first-of-its-kind soccer mecca. The vision here for the National Soccer Hall of Fame was incredibly simple. It was to honor those that have come before us in the game of soccer, those that are currently redefining the game today, and those in the future that will leave an indelible mark on the beautiful game. The simple vision wasn't so simple when it came to actually building this first-of-its-kind, state-of-the-art museum and experience dedicated to the story of soccer in America. I never thought I would be giving an Oscar winner type speech where I basically thank everyone I've ever met. But I would ask that you bear with me and hold your applause as I recognize many of the people who brought this not so simple dream to reality and helped our family's generational goal of growing the game of soccer in the United States. First, I would like to recognize Dan Flynn, Sunil Gulati, Jay Berhalter, Brian Remedi, and the U.S. Soccer Board for championing the project and their unwavering support of the Hall. I would also like to recognize and thank new U.S. Soccer President Carlos Cordero for helping to make the project a priority and a reality. When I usually have a crazy idea, I need help making it come to life. Without former Mayor of Frisco, Mayor Masso, City Manager George Purifoy, our current Mayor Jeff Cheney, EDC Head Ron Patterson, the City Council of Frisco, the FISD, and its board, led by Dr. Waldrop, none of this would be possible. Every day, I'm thankful to be part of this dynamic community. I would like to recognize every one of my coworkers at FC Dallas for their desire and dedication to this project. Thank you for believing and understanding how important this project is to soccer. To my family office, and specifically Billy Ray Johnson, Gibb Seawright, and John Wagner. Wow, you guys built something really special. If you haven't already had a chance to enjoy the Hall of Fame experience, I think you will find it to be incredibly innovative and thoughtful. Due to the tireless work and genius of Manhattan Construction, HKS Architects, Healy Kohler, Cortina, and CMS. You all, or as we say in Texas, y'all, were tasked with building the first major sports Hall of Fame into an active stadium, and you did it to perfection. Thank you to our Hall of Fame partners, NEC, MLS, and Pepsi, for believing in the vision. You helped us change the traditional museum narrative into something revolutionary. When you're trying to tell the story of something as important as the history of soccer in this country, you need to have someone that can lead you down the path. Jim Trecker, I want to thank you for being the caretaker of the American soccer story. It was a privilege to work with you. The depths of your knowledge, which are evident throughout, are one of the greatest treasures of this entire collection. Finally, and I promise that I'm almost done, I want to thank Don Garber, Dr. Robert Contiguglia, Brad Friedel, Tiffeny Milbrett, Cindy Parlow-Cohn, and JP Dellacamera for your commitment to the game of soccer. Each and every one of you has made your mark in the world of soccer. You have inspired generations of people to love the game we all treasure. Thank you for not accepting second best. Thank you for always striving for excellence. Congratulations on your inductions into the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Clearly, this is the product of a lot of true teamwork. Carlos was up a few moments ago. He asked the current and attending members of the Hall of Fame to be recognized. It's also proper that we recognize two members of the National Hall of Fame whom we lost this past year. Ron Newman passed away in late August at the age of 84. He was a true pioneer. He arrived here in England after a distinguished playing career then to begin playing in the NASL back in 1967. Began coaching 2 years later as a player coach with Dallas. 3 times the NASL Coach of the Year. He won indoor and outdoor NASL titles. He won hardware in the American Soccer League as well. And with the San Diego Sockers, think of this, Ron won 10 indoor championships in an 11-year span. This was at a time in the 80s that the game kept soccer in the headlines in this country. It is a measure of Ron's stature. He was the first head coach hired by Major League Soccer. He was hired by Kansas City in 1995. And in June, we lost Walter Barr at the age of 91. Walter played in all 3 matches for the USA at the 1950 World Cup. And yes, it was his pass, his assist, that Joe Gations converted against England in that astonishing game of their lives. Walt went on to earn 19 caps in a 9-year international career. And his passing means that now all the members of that astonishing 1950 USA side, they all now belong to the Ages. We'll miss them. Let's now begin with our presentations and recognitions. The Colin Joes Award has been presented since 2004 to honor a member of the media whose work in soccer has been, quote, deemed to be of exceptional and sustained quality. That is certainly the case here tonight. All right, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, who works in and around the game of soccer who did not break out into a huge smile and yeah when they learned about JP's recognition coming this evening. He truly is a lifer. And how appropriate to present JP for this award, another man I've also known for several decades. His work for the game, often behind the scenes, though if you watch very carefully at major matches and deep focus on the touchline, you will see him there. He is Tom Meredith, and he has supervised and he has managed and he has organized leagues and major events and international matches. He spent 9 years with U.S. Soccer. In short, if you want an answer, you need something done, Tom remains the man. To introduce JP Dellacamera, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Meredith.
Thank you, Bobby. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege and pleasure to introduce JP Dellacamera, your first honoree tonight, a true American soccer broadcasting legend. I've known JP for over 30 years, and I know he doesn't keep track of personal accomplishments, nor does he care about those kinds of things. But I'd like to tell you tonight a few things that might broaden your horizons and let you know the length and breadth of this man's amazing career. JP's worked for virtually every national network, all the alphabets: ESPN, ABC, NBC, TNT, beIN Sports, and Fox. And for years, he's also done MLS games in Philadelphia for the leading ABC affiliate there for the Philadelphia Union. He's worked, as you saw in your program, but I want to repeat it, 9 FIFA Men's World Cups. Figure that one out, 9. He's also done and been the broadcast voice for 5 FIFA Women's World Cups, soon to be 6 with our team, Fox and France 2019 on the horizon. He called indoor games back in the 80s, as Bob alluded to, when there wasn't anything but the MISL in this country, for his St. Louis Steamers, San Diego Sockers, and his Pittsburgh Spirit, where he worked. But he'll tell you it's always been about those folks that sat next to him in those broadcast booths as his partners for over 30 years that he cares about and really thinks about all the time. And he thought about it tonight. Those TV teammates, as we'll call them, many of them Soccer Hall of Famers in their own right. And of course, you know the names: Foudy, Harks, Balboa, Jones, Winalda, Chastain, and of course, Tony DeCicco. Over 36 different names in over 30 years, which also includes a partner that he's recently worked with, a trailblazer, Ali Wagner. Another inductee has been mentioned, Brad Friedel. Another Hall of Famer, Tony Meola, who he worked with this past World Cup in Russia. There's also fellow Colin Joes winner, Seamus Mallon, who's here tonight and was his partner for that historic 1989 call on the Caligiuri goal in Trinidad. And then there's the iconic moment 10 years later at the Rose Bowl in 1999, watched by 40 million people worldwide, that still resonates with us and who love the beautiful game. Ladies and gentlemen, savor these moments.
The national team must beat Trinidad and Tobago in order to advance to the World Cup in 1990. Clearly, this is the most important 90 minutes in the history of the players on the U.S. national team.
Ramos putting it in to Caligiuri. Beats the first man. A left-footed shot. Paul Caligiuri has scored a goal, and the USA lead 1-0. The USA has realized a dream. They will qualify for the World Cup in 1990.
So you're looking at 120 minutes in intense heat and pressure, and now the biggest pressure of their lives. For most of these women, maybe all, their most important penalty kicks ever. The USA could win the World Cup on this next kick. Goal! For the second time, the United States has won the Women's World Cup, and Brandy Chastain gets the game winner in the PK.
But go ahead, please. But I'd submit, ladies and gentlemen, that it's really been about how JP has quietly played it forward for his TV teammates all these years. That, to me, is the better story. For example, how last year's Hall of Fame inductee Joe Macknick, who's here tonight, told me that when JP took him under his wings when Doc joined Fox for the first time, and told him, when you go later and watch that video and see how you did, and you watch it, you critique yourself, remember that when you think you screwed up, it really wasn't that bad. But then JP said, remember also that when you watch that tape and you think to yourself, man, I was good tonight, remember, you weren't as good as you thought you were either. Then there's this past summer when JP and his longtime friend Shep Messing played it forward and teamed up with a top youth club in Connecticut and started a Division II women's team in the UWSL, United Women's Soccer League in New England, called the Connecticut Fusion. JP is really, really proud of that, and he's playing it forward for young ladies that can still play the game here. No, but I'd submit that the barometer of his work, his life these past 30 years is highlighted by the universal respect that he gets from all of his peers in the sometimes cutthroat TV broadcast business. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close with this and talk about something from the '99 Women's World Cup. It took JP 4 or 5 days to get through most of the congratulatory notes and voicemails that he got after that famous broadcast. But there's one voicemail that he got that has really stuck with him for years, and that he got after that dream assignment. And the message was a short one, but a succinct one. Hey, JP, great job, and I mean it. And that came from 8-time National Sportscaster of the Year, Bob Costas. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 Colin Jost Media Award winner, JP Dellacamera.
I get this before the speech. That's good. It's amazing how much younger I sounded in 1989. Amazing. Thank you, Tom. What a special night to be introduced by my friend Tom Meredith at a ceremony emceed by the great Bob Lee from ESPN, who adds class to any event that he's at. And to be sharing the night with this distinguished group, Brad Friedel, Tiffeny Milbrett, Cindy Parlow-Cohn, Don Garber, and Dr. Bob Contiguglia. Congratulations to each of you on your well-deserved honor. The night is more special because of the Hunt family and what they have done. They have taken our soccer history, which has been in storage the past several years, placed in empty cardboard boxes, some of those boxes unmarked, and they have helped to turn it into a magnificent National Soccer Hall of Fame that we can all be proud of. So thank you to the Hunt family. Winning the Colin Jost Media Award means a lot to me, especially when I look at the great names who have won it before me. I'm honored to be the first play-by-play commentator to win this prestigious award. As a play-by-play announcer, I've had the good fortune to call so many big goals and so many big games that will live forever in our soccer history. And I've been able to travel the world thanks to soccer. My two most memorable games I can remember vividly, and we just saw little glimpses of them there. The 1989 World Cup qualifier in Trinidad when Paul Caligiuri scored the goal that put the U.S. into the World Cup for the first time in 40 years. It started a run of 7 consecutive World Cup appearances for our men's team. Then there was that Women's World Cup final when Brandy Chastain's game-winning penalty kick capped off a fantastic World Cup winning celebration at a sold-out Rose Bowl. That Women's World Cup set both attendance records and television ratings records for both women's soccer and all of women's sports. And that rating lasted until this past 2015 Women's World Cup on Fox. Throughout my career, I've been very fortunate, able to call thousands of games from youth soccer to college, indoor soccer to outdoor soccer, even beach soccer, for men and for women. And I'm reminded about the great indoor days of the Major Indoor Soccer League and Pittsburgh Spirit and St. Louis Steamers when I have seen so many people from my MISL past here in Frisco this weekend. I've been able to call goals from St. Louis, Missouri to St. Petersburg, Russia, from Pittsburgh to Cape Town, South Africa, from Rome to Shanghai, Paris and Munich, to Mexico City and Cuba. I've met and I was able to interview Pelé, and I still keep that interview on my cell phone as a treasured memory from the greatest player to ever play. I had the chance to see Nelson Mandela in his final public appearance before he passed away. I ran from a riot in Marseille at the 1998 World Cup, which to this day is the fastest that I have ever run. While this plaque has my name on it, it's not just a personal award. I'm sharing it with a large group of people. To those many great and talented producers and directors, to the audio people, the camera operators, the TDs, the PAs, the APs, researchers, stats people, stage managers, and runners, this award I'm sharing with you. I share this award with the wardrobe and TV makeup people. I only wish you could make me look 10 years younger. To the numerous gifted analysts I have worked with over the years, some here in this room today, both men and women, thank you for sharing your playing experiences on the field with me. You have made me a better broadcaster. Thank you to the coaches who have trusted in me over these years, and to my friends, the referees. I share this award with my friends and former colleagues at ESPN, where I spent a lot of my career. I share it with my friends, colleagues, and bosses at Fox Sports, who have been and who continue to be a great, great company to work for. For my club team, the Philadelphia Union, I'm proud to be your original voice of the franchise. Finishing up my 9th year, this award I also share with you. To my lovely wife, Donna, I thank you for your patience and support for so many years. It's not easy to be married to someone who's already married to a career. To my beautiful daughters, Kristen and Jacqueline, thank you for wanting to be here on this special day for me. Son-in-law Mike, and almost 16-month-old grandson John, this night is also shared with you. For my late father, John, who passed away in 2005, my 91-year-old mother, Lillian, who still watches my games on TV, and younger brother, Danny, this award is yours too. And finally, to the millions of soccer supporters who have helped to grow our game, from the American Outlaws to my Union Sons of Ben, and all of the great groups in our country. Thank you for making the atmosphere at our games so much better, so much greater than it has ever been. Let's keep it up. This award I'm also sharing with you. Thank you, everyone.
We shared a private word about Marseille. I'm glad I wasn't there that night. Tear gas was flying. Congratulations, so richly deserved. Now our inductions for the Hall of Fame. If you follow him on Twitter, you know Don Garber as the Soccer Don. I'm from Jersey, I love that. In his 20th year as Commissioner of Major League Soccer, and on his watch now, 10 teams have grown to 26, 18 soccer-specific stadia have been built, 6 more are in the pipeline. Don Garber has led an era of energetic growth and accomplishment that has put him now into the Hall of Fame.
When we started Major League Soccer in 1996, I think there were a number of things that led to our initial success.
Early years of MLS, it was heavy lifting.
We didn't see the same level of crowds that we'd seen in the initial season. There was a lot of questioning as to what the best strategy to move forward was.
Starting a league and seeing it build and prosper was a little heavier lifting than I thought it would be.
Well, I had the pleasure of meeting Don 20 years ago when the MLS was looking for a new commissioner, chatted with Lamar Hunt, and we both agreed that Don would be a great candidate.
I met Don 22 years ago, and I was impressed. Slowly it began to work as we began to build the number of soccer teams in the country.
When I first contemplated coming to the league, Don made me really believe that there's exciting times ahead.
I think the relationship he has developed with the broadcasters has shown them what a viable product this was. He evangelized the whole concept of soccer and TV in America, and I think the networks have now seen how to monetize it in a way that suits their purposes. Broadcasting anything, it's about star power.
It's hard to quantify what Don has meant to Major League Soccer since he came on board in 1999. I think he has made people appreciate what this sport can be in this country. Just thinking about the diversity in the ownership group and how that has grown is a testament to what Don's been able to do.
The biggest thing is being able to give back, and I think obviously with Don setting up MLS Works, I think that was a big part of what people are going to look back on. They will turn around and say that whole program was Don's vision, and that's a huge part of his legacy.
I would give Don a lot of credit, more than anyone else, for building the sport of soccer in the United States.
And the reason why Don has been successful comes down to one word, and that's leadership. Don is very clear in what he wants to do, how he wants to execute it, and he's an expert at getting people involved, on board, and believing in it. And to me, he has done that better than 99% of commissioners in the history of sports.
When he believes in something, you can't get him off track.
It's a balancing act. You have to balance your family. Betsy and his son and daughter have been good supporters here for Don.
The qualities that I most admire in Don, they're everything he does both at a personal level and through MLS for the greater society around us. In addition to being a great commissioner, he's a good man.
The main thing that sticks in my mind about Don is he's effective. He can deliver, and he has. This is in part the fulfillment of a long-held dream I've had about the sport in the United States. MLS has been a success story.
He's still the same guy he was 20 years ago.
Are you serious? As much as Don has achieved over the last 19 years, he knows that our best days are still ahead of us. And with his energy, vision, and leadership, there's no limit to what we can achieve.
Clark Hunt once said the following. He said, "The sports business is all about the fan and the experience that they have when they're at the stadium." Boy, how appropriate that is with this marvelous Hall of Fame, this experience right here at the FC Dallas Stadium. Chairman and CEO of the NFL Kansas City Chiefs, he and his brother Dan were primary architects of establishing this Hall of Fame right here. And to present Don Garber now for induction into the Hall, ladies and gentlemen, Clark Hunt.
Bob, thanks very much. This is truly a special day in the history of American soccer, and I'm so excited to be part of it. Having a chance to watch everybody in the hall enjoying what my brother Dan and I have been working on for 5 years just put the biggest smile on my face. And I just want to thank the many, many people. I'm not going to go through the list as Dan did, but the many people who helped us make it a reality, especially U.S. Soccer and the city of Frisco. As we open a new home in the epic story of American soccer, it is fitting that we welcome into its halls a man who is writing some of the most significant chapters in that story. 2018 National Soccer Hall of Fame inductee, Don Garber. My family and I have had the privilege of working with Don for the past 35 years across 2 leagues and 2 continents, and I'm truly honored that he asked me to present him today. Don's career in sports began with the National Football League, when an executive from the NFL noticed the smart, determined young man from Queens during a sponsorship pitch and hired him to be part of NFL properties. It was at the NFL where Don developed his skills in sales and marketing and first showcased his creative vision and fierce optimism that would be the hallmarks of his Hall of Fame career. In the early 90s, the league restructured the sales staff at NFL properties, and Don was left without a job, so he invented a new one. He organized and led the marketing team that transformed annual events like the Super Bowl into the wide world spectacle that we know today. Don and his team helped turn the Super Bowl halftime show into the most coveted stage in entertainment, and he developed the NFL Experience, an interactive festival for fans that made a 3-hour-long game into a week-long party. In 1992, 300,000 fans turned out for the first NFL Experience in Minneapolis, and today that number exceeds 1 million every year. Only Don could look at the Super Bowl and think, this should be a bigger deal. Don's ability to create something out of nothing turned heads at the NFL. When Commissioner Paul Tagliabue wanted to grow the NFL brand globally, he asked Don to head up NFL Europe. To his colleagues around the league, the international post amounted to little more than a fool's errand and a lost cause, but Don described it as manna from heaven. Don took the NFL's fledgling international division from 5 people based in New York to a global operation with 130 employees in 6 countries across 4 continents. I've had the privilege of chairing the NFL International Committee for the last 6 years, and I can tell you that our success today is directly tied to the foundation that Don laid for it 25 years ago. Don's work leading NFL International caught the attention of everyone at the league, including some influential owners, namely Robert Kraft and my father Lamar. Born from the success of the 1994 World Cup, Major League Soccer launched with great promise, but a few seasons in, MLS was faltering and in need of a new leader. So in August of 1999, Don was introduced as the second commissioner of Major League Soccer. The man who sold America's game to the world would now try to sell the world's game to America. The announcement was widely panned by the soccer media as a terrible decision. Don is fond of reciting a headline from the LA Times the day after his introduction that read, "Garber as MLS commissioner, a bad choice in any language." His critics took their shots. They claimed that Don knew nothing about soccer, which was true. They said he couldn't speak Spanish, which is still true. Most of all, the critics believed that someone else could do a better job, and on that count, they could not have been more wrong. One of Don's first actions as commissioner was to listen to the American soccer fans, a small but passionate group of supporters that loved the beautiful game but didn't love the Americanized product they saw in the early days of MLS. Within months of taking over, Don aligned league rules with the rest of the world, eliminating shootouts after ties and the countdown clock, winning over the naysayers in the process. But despite the improvements on the pitch, Don quickly realized the league was in dire straits. MLS was on the brink of collapse, and it was up to Don to figure out how to save it. In 2001, Don assembled Phil Anschutz, Robert Kraft, and my dad Lamar, the 3 most influential and soon-to-be only owners of MLS, who had already lost millions investing in the league, and he laid out 2 options. Double down and invest millions more on a plan Don had to turn the league's fortunes, or call it quits and fold the league. Had it been anyone else asking, the answer would have almost certainly been no. But Phil, the Krafts, and our family believed in Don's ability to persevere to make the dream of MLS a permanent reality. The reason MLS is thriving, and frankly, the reason we are all here today, is because he did find a way. With the increased investment, Don secured marketing and broadcast rights to a number of high-profile soccer assets, including the FIFA World Cup in 2002 and 2006. And he created Soccer United Marketing, one of the most innovative concepts in the history of professional sports. While many MLS observers consider the creation of some as Don's signature move, Sunil Gulati reminded me of Don's masterstroke in 2005, when he somehow prevented the World Cup rights from being sold out from some's control. Faced with an impossibly short timeline, Don convinced ESPN executive Don Skipper to outbid the other network and win the rights, which solidified some and MLS for the next decade. So with all due respect to Brad Friedel, I have to say Don Garber has made some of the most epic saves in MLS history. We have come a long way under Don's leadership. Bob mentioned growing from 10 teams to 26 today. And the soccer stadiums, which we just had Crew Stadium back in 1999 when Don joined the league. And today we have 18 with many more on the board. When Phil Anschutz had second thoughts about building what is now the StubHub Center in 2002, Don was quick to give Phil the hard sell on why the league needed it, which caused Phil to quip, "Who do you think is paying for this? Santa Claus?" The league has also transitioned from paying to be on broadcast TV in the early days to garnering significant media coverage and being one of the few sports properties whose ratings grow every year. And finally, and perhaps most exciting for the future of the league, MLS has become a leader in the development of young players. And I believe those players will not only lead the U.S. back to the World Cup, but one day they will compete to win it. Through it all, Don has remained steadfast in his commitment to Major League Soccer, in his goal to make it one of the top leagues in the world. And if his Hall of Fame career is any indication, it will happen sooner than later. Beyond his accomplishments, Don's qualities as a leader and as a person are what truly make him a Hall of Famer. MLS Deputy Commissioner Mark Abbott summed it up well when he noted that Don has the perfect combination of passion, tenacity, and the power of persuasion to be the MLS Commissioner. More than that, Don has a tremendous heart. He cares deeply for the people he works with, and that has inspired his team to persevere in the face of adversity, grow the league for the good of the game, and make a difference in the communities of our fans. Above all, Don is a devoted family man. He lights up when he talks about his wonderful wife, Betsy, and his children, David and Maddie. They are here today, and I know you guys must be so, so proud of Don. Now it is my great honor to welcome 2018 National Soccer Hall of Fame inductee, Don Garber.
Wow. Well, muchas gracias, Clark. You know, it is really such an honor to be here with my family today. You know, as many of you that know me know that I really wanted to delay my induction to be here in Dallas for the opening of this incredible new National Soccer Hall of Fame. Really, Clark, in honor of your father, Lamar, in honor of Dan and the entire Hunt family. And I truly am humbled to be inducted along with Tiffeny Milbrett, along with Brad Friedel, Cindy Parlow-Cohn, who I know from the U.S. Soccer Board, Dr. Bob, who I've known for 20 years, and JP, who's done such a great job on our broadcast. I really am proud to be part of your class, and it's going to be great to know that each of us will be connected with each other forever. You know, if not for Lamar, I simply wouldn't be standing here today, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to spend my career building Major League Soccer into the league that it's become today. Lamar taught me so many things that are so deeply etched in my memory. He was so humble. He had such grace. He was such a decent man. And his commitment to his family, particularly the original soccer mom, Norma, has been such an important part of creating and continuing the Hunt legacy. But really more importantly than their impact on me personally has been the impact on the sport of soccer in our country. The Hunt family will be forever viewed as among the most important people in the sport. So I thank them, and I'm so deeply grateful for their friendship, for their deep commitment to Major League Soccer, and for everything that they've done for me and for my family and everybody in the MLS world. I often think about Lamar when I open up a new stadium or when we announce a new team. And I wonder if he's proud of what we've built. Lamar's probably smiling right now. He's looking down on all of us. He's excited that the game tomorrow night, the FC Dallas game, is sold out. He's excited that we'll have 55,000 people in Minnesota for the Minnesota United Galaxy game and 72,000 for the Atlanta-Chicago Fire game. But one thing I know for sure, that he would be so proud of his sons and everything that they've done for their families, everything they've done for the sports industry, everything that they've done to build this incredible facility, which is so remarkable, but really everything that they are as men. So I want to say on behalf of all of us, that we're so proud to be a part of everything that your family has done for the sport. I've always believed that you can't celebrate the present unless we truly understand and we acknowledge our past, and that we need to preserve our history, particularly the history of our sport, so that it can inform and can influence an even greater future for all of us. And that's what the Hunt family, what U.S. Soccer, the city of Frisco have done with creating this incredible permanent cathedral that will honor our sport, the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Clark and Dan, with Carlos Cordero and Dan Flynn, you've built a roof above our sport's history that will capture the special moments and the people of our sport forever. So I speak on behalf of all of our inductees, past and present, when we say how much we appreciate your vision and your commitment. I've devoted most of my career to building Major League Soccer so that everyone in the soccer community here in the United States and Canada can have a league that they could be proud of, one that could earn the respect of everyone that was part of the sport before us, those who work with us every day, those that work alongside us, and those that will carry our sport and our league to even greater heights in the years to come. And while I'm excited to wear the red jacket, though I was talking to Dan about maybe doing a Tom Ford or Giorgio Armani deal, and I could help you on that one, I'm only standing up here today because of the collective efforts of so many people that have had deep belief and the vision that MLS could one day be popular, that it could be valuable, and that it could really be an important professional soccer league. And I know people say that all the time, but there were so many people that came before me that have been part of this sport. Today I attended the lunch, the 50th anniversary lunch for the NASL players that are here in Dallas. The grassroots soccer community that I've tried to be a part of for so many years that supported the professional game back in the day and support Major League Soccer, and the great players that have inspired us, that have been such an important part of thrilling our fans, and that for many, many years set the stage for Major League Soccer to grow and to prosper. And there's so many people here tonight that have worked alongside me on this journey, this MLS journey to build Major League Soccer. And they've allowed me to stand on their shoulders so that together we could all work to build Major League Soccer into the great league that we all dreamed of. Now, it started with our owners, and Clark mentioned what we went through in the early days, and I believe even from the earliest moments, it's what motivated me to join this league, that we have the best ownership group in professional sports. They've invested billions and billions of dollars in managing their clubs, building stadiums, managing their rosters, building great staffs, because they deeply believed that the United States deserved a first division soccer league that could turn our country into a true soccer nation. They built great, spectacular stadiums like Toyota Stadium and amazing training facilities. They focused deeply on strategically building and developing competitive product and great rosters with players on the field. They committed to charitable social programs that established their clubs as being meaningful and responsible and committed community citizens. They believed, most importantly, that MLS could be a league that mattered, that it could have influence as a growing pro soccer league throughout North America, that one day, as Clark said, could be one of the top soccer leagues in the world. And I can tell you, it wasn't always smooth sailing. As Clark mentioned, in 2001, we sat around that ranch, that table in Phil's ranch, and we talked really seriously about shutting down this league. But rather than be another failed American soccer league that really had us concerns that it would never get relaunched again, they doubled, they tripled, and they quadrupled down. And I always believed, it's something that motivates me as a man, that sometimes you need to be at your best when you just can't get any worse. And that's what came out of that meeting. Excuse me. They made that tough decision 15 years ago that left us with just 10 teams and one stadium. So we did what great people would do who care about things. We picked ourselves up, we dusted off all the dirt, and then we got together to incur all of the investment and all of the energy to build Major League Soccer back again from the ground up. And it started with a plan that had traumatic restructuring. They committed to building those stadiums and training grounds, something that barely existed back in the day. They invested deeply in player development. They funded and they went along with the plan for Soccer United marketing. This year, LAFC just joined MLS as our 23rd team, back from 10 many years ago. Nashville, Cincinnati, and Miami will bring us to 26. Soon we'll be at 28. This year we opened our 18th and 19th stadium in LA and DC, with Allianz Stadium opening up next year in Minnesota. We all take for granted, as sports fans, the permanence of major leagues in our country. And now, thanks to the efforts of our owners, Major League Soccer is here to stay because our ownership built it to stand the test of time. And that's something that led to perhaps the thing I am most proud of. Today, Major League Soccer has 3,500 people that are working, getting a paycheck in professional soccer, working for our league. 700 players are on our first team roster. We have 2,000 kids in our academies. This year, we'll have almost 10 million people coming through our gates, with supporters in those images that you've seen that are passionately creating an environment that has made our league, our teams, the envy of professional sports. We'll have almost 30 million people watching our games on ESPN, on Fox, on Univision, and millions and millions more in almost 200 countries around the world. But for me, perhaps the most important thing that our owners have done was allowed us to celebrate what will be the 20th anniversary of MLS Works, our league-wide community relations effort. Even during our earliest and most troubling times, regardless of what we thought the future would hold, we had the opportunity, and we believe we have the obligation, to use the influence of our players and our clubs to make a difference in our communities. So when I reflect on it all, I think perhaps the most important thing I've learned from our owners over the past 2 decades is that failure isn't fatal and success isn't final. It's the courage with an unwavering focus and a commitment to the future that counts. And I've learned critical lessons from each and every one of them over the last number of years. And I want to thank our MLS ownership group, all you that are here today, from the bottom of my heart. As an aside, I remember Paul Tagliabue once telling me in my exit interview that the most important job of a commissioner is to keep the owners that hate you away from the owners that are undecided. So I really appreciate the kind words, Clark, until our next board meeting, and Gabrielle Brenner and Jake. But speaking of great leaders, I have been really blessed to work with an amazing group of folks in the league office that I also believe are the best in the sports industry, and it starts with Mark Abbott. Everything that MLS is today came out of the original plan that Mark created while working with Alan Rothenberg in the early 90s. Mark has devoted his entire career to Major League Soccer. He's worked at the league for almost 26 years. He's done it with quiet confidence and a laser-sharp intellect. He's done it with humor, alongside a steadfast and thoughtful approach to managing even the most complicated issues. Mark, you're a good man, as good as anybody I know. And, I would not be the executive that I am today without your calm and patient counsel. I don't need water, David, thank you. Thank you for your friendship and for your support over the last 20 years. Gary Stevenson, one of the most seasoned and experienced executives in sports, joined MLS 5 years ago. His experience, his vision, his leadership have propelled MLS to be one of the most valued commercial properties in the industry. And he's helped Soccer United marketing become a force to be reckoned with. If Mark has been the steady rudder that's helped guide MLS, Gary put new wind in our sails. When he arrived, he provided a level of professionalism, of counsel, determination that set us up to earn the respect of the entire sports industry. Gary, I thank you, brother. Most of the MLS senior staff has been with the league since our first days. They've spent their entire careers at Major League Soccer, and they helped make us what they are today. Todd Durbin, who has done an extraordinary job leading our player group for almost 20 years and created every major player initiative from the designated player rule to our youth development strategy. Joanne Neal, who manages MLS Works and created our diverse work environment that has earned MLS really high marks in the industry. Sean Prendergast, Bill Ordauer, my travel partner Charles Olchek, and my communications chief Dan Kortemanch. All of you are best in class. And while I get all of the credit for what MLS is today, the entire MLS executive team deserves this recognition for their long service, their commitment, and their love of the league and their support of me. Dan Flynn and Jay Berhalter have been great partners with us since 2002, recognizing that a successful First Division Pro League in the United States is necessary to grow the game at all levels, and I thank both of you. And I speak for everyone in MLS, Carlos, when we say how much we look forward to working with you for years to come. ESPN's John Skipper, Fox's Eric Shanks, Univision's Juan Carlos Rodriguez have been great friends, committed partners, and have done a great job broadcasting our league. Sunil Gulati, more than any other person, Sunil gave me my soccer soul. For nearly 20 years, hardly a week went by without the two of us speaking about the league, the federation, about family, and focusing in on what really matters and the importance of always doing the right thing. As many of you know and heard from Clark, I knew very little, nothing, about the sport when I joined the league. Beyond the articles that were saying I was the wrong man for the job, I turned to Sunil. His personal reverence and passion for the game helped me understand the power and beauty of it. He did it with patience, with his unique professorial style, initiating me both into the domestic and the global soccer world, understanding that a connected and respected MLS is good for the sport here and abroad. Sunil, I want to thank you for your friendship, for your guidance, and your long service to the game. And most importantly, I want to thank my family. My wife, Betsy, has been incredibly supportive as a partner and a friend for me throughout my 34 years in sport. Without her love, her optimism, her grace, her calm and balanced approach to everything in life, her willingness to sacrifice her own career and be devoted to single-handedly managing our family while I lived on the road for 20 years, well, I wouldn't be the man that I am. As a father and as a business leader, I love you, Bets. Thank you. My daughter, Maddie, and my son, David, have given me so much love, joy, and pride, and if I have any regret in my life, it's not being there more for them during the most important years of their life. I hope they know that they are the most important accomplishment in my life, and I love you both dearly. And finally, my brother Mitch, who's here tonight with his wife Janice, you've been such an important and ever-present part of my life, providing support and guidance and love. I thank you, Mitch. You know, I've always believed, I'm wrapping up, that some people succeed because they're destined to, and some people succeed because they're determined to. My past had no way of indicating that I'd ever have a career in sports, let alone a career in soccer. But I fell in love with this sport 20 years ago, and I was determined to do everything in my power to succeed and to help MLS and the entire soccer community have a league that they could be proud of. It wasn't always easy, and we didn't get everything right. But now, almost 20 years later, the game and this league is a part of me. And my role at MLS, leading this league, in many ways has defined my life. I've tried to leave it the last number of years, the past years, with total respect for the game, for those people who've been part of the sport before me, and those who have worked alongside me. And I greatly, greatly appreciate everyone that's allowed me to stand on their shoulders so that I could be standing here today. Thank you very much. It's a great honor.
That was beautiful. Congratulations. We move on. Our next inductee. In Bob Contiguglia's 2 terms as the president of U.S. Soccer, we saw the highlights before, the memorable Women's World Cup win at the Rose Bowl in 1999, and the men's run to the quarterfinals of the 2002 World Cup. Dr. Bob's career in the game has brought him to today's induction.
Working with Dr. Bob, he was a man of character in anything he did, and the level of integrity that Bob brought to the process. He lived it, and it was easy to see working with him on a daily basis.
Soccer has been his life. He's been a devoted servant to soccer for, frankly, 50-plus years. As a player at Columbia, as a coach, till today. As a fan, I think he's been to World Cups, men and women's World Cups, for over 40 years.
In the post-94 World Cup era, there was a lot of dissension within U.S. soccer community, and Dr. Bob, as a healer, brought people together. I think his integrity, his moral fiber, his work as a physician all encompassed that healing mentality.
Bob was a great listener, always willing to look at other options and to look at things a bit differently. And at the same time, quietly, Bob was very challenging in a very positive way. So that was a great motivation, not only for me, but for the entire organization.
He's been involved at every major level in some incredibly exciting times for our sport.
For the second time, the United States has won the Women's World Cup, and Brandy Chastain gets the game winner in the PK.
Mr. President, when our women won in '99, our women won again in Athens in 2004, and our men reached the quarterfinals in 2002.
Dr. Bob stepped forward and understand the importance of growing the women's game and definitely increasing the support we had for our women's program. I just remember seeing him celebrating with us after tournaments. Our game and our national team is better because of his vision and his commitment to the women's side of the game.
He was just such a prominent figure. He was the figurehead of everything I wanted, World Cups and playing for my national team. So it was always a privilege and an honor to meet him.
Not only his soccer career, his family, his physician career as a healer, as a doctor. He's been a giant of a man. He served our game, he served our family, and more importantly, he served our country. He's been a tremendous force for good.
To present Dr. Bob for induction into the Hall of Fame, let me now introduce two men. Hank Steinbrecher, himself a Hall of Famer who served a decade as the CEO of U.S. Soccer, and in his playing career, as we were chatting about earlier today, an NAIA National Championship at Davis and Elkins College, and the current Secretary General of U.S. Soccer in his 19th year. And has it really been 45 years since he played on the National Championship St. Louis University team? Dan Flynn. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob. When Dr. Bob called me not long ago and asked me to be part of his induction ceremony, I was deeply honored. I was, in fact, thrilled to be part of it. It allows me the opportunity to publicly recognize Bob for his dedication and commitment to U.S. soccer. And on a personal level, it allows me to thank Bob for the selection he made 18 and a half years ago to become the CEO of U.S. Soccer. And that's what I remember most about Bob. As we were going through the process for the CEO position, he flew to Washington, D.C., and we had a really long conversation. Bob went through what his vision, what he wanted to get done. And it was a really good exchange. And at the end, it's the most memorable thing I can think of when I think of Bob and his commitment. He said, Dan, I want you to be really clear. I'm not trying to make my presidency special. I'm trying to make the organization special. That resonated with me. It wasn't about recognition. It was going to be about results. And I'm going to give you two examples that I think measure up to that statement Bob made to me. The first, and Hank mentioned it in the video, there were times our organization had some tense moments. And one was the size of our board was 41, 42 people. Bob decided he was going to take it on, reduce the board down to 15, add 3 independent directors, make sure the athletes had 20% of the vote. And he did so with incredible political risk. But he repeatedly said to me, Dan, this is the right thing for the organization. And I can tell you, and the board members that are here today will tell you, that single move has been the right thing for our organization. The second such example was a personal sacrifice Bob made. It was decided our annual meeting in August needed to be moved earlier so more members could attend and participate in our organization. And he made that decision, and he actually gave up the last 6 months of his presidency, which also meant he was not going to be the acting president in the 2006 Men's World Cup in Germany. That's character. That's leadership. That's commitment to the organization. So, Bob, we value your leadership, and I get the opportunity to also introduce Hank, but I'm going to say we value your leadership. I treasure my friendship. But I'm going to use the same words when I introduce the next speaker. Hank, we value your leadership at U.S. Soccer, and I treasure your friendship. It's all yours.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan. The feeling is mutual. Thank you.
Dr. Bob, I have to admit that I was surprised, a little bit shocked, and incredibly humbled by you asking me to come and introduce you for induction into this Hall of Fame. In reflecting on Dr. Bob, most people know him as the elegantly dressed, articulate, classy president of U.S. Soccer. They don't know the full body of Bob's work in our game for over 60 years. I met Bob in 1985 at a convention in Chicago of U.S. Soccer. We talked about the future of soccer in 1985, about where Bob thought the game should go. I was not involved with our federation at all at that time, but I left that meeting thinking, this is one sharp dude. This is a sharp guy, and he'll do well for our game. Bob's career, it's over 60 years. 60 years as a youth player and high school player in the clubs on Long Island, his home. To Columbia University, where he starred as a player. To moving to Colorado to become the president of the Colorado Soccer Association. That wasn't enough. He moved on to be the president of the United States Youth Soccer Association. That wasn't enough. He moved on to become the president of U.S. Soccer. And now simply he is coach, bringing him back to his roots, coaching little children. I admire this man tremendously. Every single major decision U.S. Soccer has taken since the mid-'80s, Bob has had a hand in. Whether it's the creation of the U.S. Soccer Foundation, whether it's the creation of the MLS, whether it's hosting the Women's World Cup, this man was the leader. He led in an elegant, quiet way. But when I think of Bob, I don't think just of this long span of history. I think first that Dr. Bob is a healer. He's a doctor. He's a renowned nephrologist. He's a healer. He loves people. He loves the human condition. He loves to bring people together. Bob managed by consensus. There were fractious times in soccer. We've had tremendous growth, and growth is the most difficult thing to manage. Yet Bob was a steady, steady hand. I think I've seen him angry once in my entire association with him. And Bob, that was in Louisville. I'm sure you remember that. Bob is a healer, never getting angry, bringing people together. Yet to me, even more important than being a healer, you've heard this about some of our inductees tonight, Bob is a family man. And I have to say, sitting afar from him and his family, looking at that relationship with Georgie and Chessa and Andy, the love that he has for his family was overpowering. It demanded such amount of respect from me. Dr. Bob, you are not just a doctor. You're not just a husband. You're not just a father. You're not just a grandfather. You're not just a coach. You're not just an administrator. And you're not just a referee. To me, you are a giant of a man. And the greatest compliment I can give you is to tell you that you are a great American citizen. I have, our game has, our country has benefited from your being. It is my honor, deep privilege, to introduce you for induction to the National Soccer Hall of Fame, a richly deserved award. God bless you, Bob.
I can't thank Hank and Dan enough, not only for their friendship and for those wonderful comments, but the reality is that U.S. soccer would not be where it is today without their work. Hank was significant in the early professionalization of our sport, and he was a mentor teaching me about FIFA and about the international game. He remains a great friend, obviously, and a worldwide and respected ambassador for our sport. And Dan has built U.S. soccer to make it one of the finest sports organizations in the world. I am sure Dan will soon join Hank and me in this Hall of Fame. I want to congratulate the other inductees, and I am proud to be part of this class. And I commend the Hunts for building this magnificent facility. It is an appropriate legacy for Lamar. This Hall of Fame recognition of me seems unfitting because I am being honored for being involved in a sport that has been a joy for my entire life. I started playing in grade school, and my teammates from high school, college, and later are still my closest friends. My high school and club teammate, Bruce Gitlin, is here tonight from New York. We played together in high school. He went on to college and is a player of the century for his college. Two of my Columbia teammates and I went on to medical school. And all three of us became nephrologists, believe that. And we're still friends today. At Columbia, I was fixed up on a blind date with a Barnard College woman. Not only was she the most beautiful woman I had ever met, but she was also the campus queen, twice in a row. Wow, I had scored a hat trick. And I would not let her go. We've been together for 56 years. In all of my life's endeavors, Georgie has been there as a sounding board and a friend. She has been the foundation of our family by firmly sticking to our values and keeping me grounded. She's been an outstanding example to professional women in the community as a successful CEO and president. And our fabulous children and grandchildren are because of her. Our family, all of whom have attended various World Cups and soccer events, are here tonight, and I'd like to introduce them to you. My son Andy, a successful attorney, and his wife Chantel, a newly appointed county judge, are here from Denver with their children Gabrielle and Brooklyn. Gabrielle, age 5, scored her first goals for her club team this week. My daughter Francesca, an accomplished author and consultant, is here from her home in Rome, Italy, where she has taken advantage of living within walking distance of the AS Roma Olympic Stadium. And her son Tristan plays goalkeeper for his school. My granddaughter Shailene is a business executive, and her husband Kevin are here from Seattle and are avid Sounders fans. Thank you for being here. In 1970, after we moved to Denver, soccer became a more significant part of our family. I played for the local German club, and on weekends, Georgie and our kids would be on the sidelines. My teammates were physicians, lawyers, and engineers. They became the nucleus of our lives in Colorado. When Andy turned 6, Georgie volunteered me to be coach of his recreational team. How many of you have heard that before? And youth coaching became a passion. In our home in Denver, we have a neon sign which shows a stick figure player with a moving ball and the quote, "Dr. Bob's great soccer game of life." As a family, we use the beautiful game as a metaphor for events in our lives. A minor setback is a throw-in, while a major accomplishment is a goal scored. Tonight's event is a hat trick. In 1983, I was elected president of the Colorado Youth Soccer Association. At our first board meeting, our new vice president, Marty Menkemeyer, requested being a delegate to the United States Soccer Federation annual general meeting. I said, "What is that?" We attended our first AGM here in Dallas. We entered the meeting room. There were beer can pyramids on the table, and the crowd was unruly. The Federation was out of money and counted on USOC funding for programs. The national teams were underfunded. The youth organizations and the women's games were in their infancy. The coaching and referee programs had barely been launched. There was tension with the pros. Athletes had no vote. And since there was only a 3-person staff in the Empire State Building, most of the programs for the U.S. Soccer Federation were managed by volunteers. In addition, at that AGM, a person running for national office had just gotten out of jail. I asked myself, what have I gotten myself into? The answers came over the next 35 years, which included 28 years on the board of directors. During that period of time, I've been able to witness and be part of the evolution of soccer in America, from ad hoc groups and teams to a respected, professional, and financially sound mainstream sport. In 1990, we began to restructure the governance and operations of the Federation and U.S. Youth Soccer. In '94, we hosted one of the most successful World Cups in history, and in 1996, started a strong professional league with soccer-specific stadiums and a committed ownership. Our women's national teams, of course, are the best in the world. And the 1999 Women's World Cup was the most important women's sporting event of the 20th century. I firmly believe that. We now have a strong women's professional league. Our athletes are full-time professionals, and there is worldwide recognition of women's soccer. In 2002, we saw our best men's World Cup performance. One of my proudest moments came at a FIFA meeting where the delegates told me that we played better than Germany and, quote, it was a handball. The U.S. was no longer a minnow in world soccer. And believe me, before that, we were called minnows. U.S. Soccer went on to professionalize, increase its staff, spread to 4 locations, which included the Home Depot Center, and we partnered with Phil Anschutz and his group in building that Home Depot Center. We grew the coach and referee training programs, started and grew player development programs, hosted international mega events like the 2003 Women's World Cup, which we did in 4 months. And we have to congratulate Dan, Jay, and MLS for partnering with us to put on that event, which normally takes 4 years to put on. We did it in 4 months and made an $11 million profit while we did it. It was very good. At the same time, we went on to build a hugely successful commercial operation. At the same time, our member organizations professionalized and made great contributions to grassroots development. These successes are the result of the hard work and dedication of our soccer professionals, the entire volunteer soccer community, and I can't say enough about the volunteers, and our investors and sponsors. We should all be proud of what we have accomplished. This sport has enriched my life and my family's lives during the last 35 years, heck, 65 years. I am thankful for the hundreds of friendships made within the soccer family and for the many opportunities they have afforded me. Now I have gone full circle. I'm back to coaching an under-13 boys team, totally enjoying it even though we lost this morning. And U.S. soccer's future continues to look extremely bright with the hosting under Carlos's leadership of the 2026 World Cup, our women qualifying for 2019, and an exciting pool of young, talented male athletes. Our future is extremely bright. Georgie, I, and our family are looking forward to it all. So thank you all for this honor, and thank you all for what you do for our game.
Congratulations, Dr. Bob, richly deserved. So what's the image we have of Cindy Parlow Cone? Well, we remember a game-changing player as the collection of medals and hardware, but as anyone who ever played with her can tell you, it was never about Cindy. With her, it was always team first. Cindy Parlow Cone's journey to this Hall of Fame moment.
First of all, she came onto the team when it seemed like she was just a baby. And I didn't even think she could talk because she never talked. She was very quiet. And just kind of the evolution, how she turned into this unbelievable beast sort of on the field. I mean, she was a great dribbler. You know, she had no problem taking people on. She had this presence in the air that was unbelievable. And just loved seeing how she just came in as this kind of quiet little skinny kid, and she grew into this kind of monster.
I loved being a part of her soccer life because off the field she was this sweet person raised by two, wonderful people in a Southern tradition of courtesy and being polite and, sort of a yes or no sir thing until the game began, and all of a sudden she's crossing the lines and you're thinking, oh my gosh, where did that come from?
She had an edge, which I loved, in the greatest way. And the other thing about Cindy, though, that I think doesn't get enough attention, and I always tell kids this as a great example of team chemistry, Cindy was a player who she'd be starting, and then she'd be on the bench, and then she'd be starting, and then we get to a big world championship, and she'd maybe get the last 10 minutes of a game. But Cindy never showed any overt anger or disappointment. And think about that. And I always tell kids, like, here's a player who, was scoring goals and was producing and had every right to say, I deserve to be out there. And yet when she wasn't out there, she was the first one on the bench cheering for you and saying, great job. And it was never about her. It was never about Cindy. I mean, to this day, I hug her and say thank you for being such a great team player in that sense, which I think is what made our teams over the years so great, is when you have players like Cindy Parlow who embrace that.
She's not only a thoughtful player, she's a thoughtful human being. She's smart, she's savvy. She just embraced what it meant to be a part of a team. And I think, growing up in a large family, she understood that. And, she just had that uncanny ability and the insight to know how important the different dynamics of a team were. Because sometimes she'd start, sometimes she didn't, depending on the lineup. But every time she came in, she had an impact. And I'm just so happy and thrilled for her in her moment.
And now to present Cindy for her official induction into the Hall of Fame, a coach whose records stand alone in this game, a man who is in the Hall of Fame and has known Cindy for a quarter century. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the women's squad at the University of North Carolina, Anson Dorrance.
Thank you, sir. Boy, I love watching footage of her play. In April of 1992, 4 months after we had won the first Women's World Championship in Guangzhou, China, I was returning to my role as a women's soccer evangelist by signing autographs at Soccer USA, a specialty store in Memphis, Tennessee. In hindsight, this was going to turn out to be an incredibly lucky day for me because the two local soccer parents that had volunteered to drive me back to the airport were Josephine and Larry. And sitting quietly behind me in their van was 13-year-old Cindy. After I got out of the van, Cindy, who did not say a word to me during the entire ride back to the airport, looked at her parents and declared, "I'm going to play for that man one day." That was my first early commitment. Like so many elite female soccer players, Cindy played with older brothers and trained with boys. As all of us know, there is nothing kind or gentle about playing with your older brothers. So if Cindy wasn't cutting it with Rick or Joe, 5 years older and 3 years older respectively, they would say, "Cindy, go inside and play with Mama." There was no compassion with the brothers. Of course, sometimes it was raining outside and they were playing inside, the couch serving as one goal and the hearth as the other. And by this time, younger brother Larry, who's sitting right over here, had jumped into the fray. So now it was 2v2 with the ball violently flying all over the place. So when Josephine came in and was horrified, screaming to protect a cherished painting crafted by Big Larry's mother that hung over the hearth, she heard Cindy say, "Don't worry, Mom, no one here is that bad." So this is a note to our technical staff, by the way. For elite player development, 2v2 in the living room with no brothers where anyone is bad. So even though she left high school early to join me at North Carolina, she arrived as a fully formed, ass-kicking woman that proceeded to take the collegiate soccer world by storm, winning national championships and in 4 seasons going 102, 3-1. She was a force on the field. And you can see this from listening to what all of her teammates were saying. She was a fierce, competitive, Amazon warrior of a player that terrified opponents and teammates equally. If you had the temerity or bad luck to smash into Cindy in practice or a game, the consequences hung in the air like an anvil. She was on a mission her freshman year to impress Tony DeCicco to make it to the 1996 Olympic team, so she hammered in 19 goals as a catalyst for that collegiate national champion. Tony duly selected her as his youngest player. In 1999, 3 years later, in the most iconic women's athletic event of all time, and almost every presenter up here has referred to it, Cindy started in all 6 games for the United States, helping this country in front of the Rose Bowl's 90,000 people win its 2nd World Championship. But all of that is not why she owns a piece of my heart and why she was inducted into the Dorrance Family Hall of Fame well before today. In the spring of 2012, Cindy was entering her 7th year as my volunteer assistant, and my wife, Melissa, was struck by an aggressive autoimmune disease that sent her to the emergency room. The doctors gave her a 20% chance to live out the year. It was basically periodic 24-hour vigils with me and my son Donovan, where he would sit with Melissa during the day and I would sit with her at night. All of my plans for that 2012 season were on hold as our family watched Melissa fight for her life. I was supposed to go to Europe to take a periodization course with the famed Dutch fitness expert Raymond Verheyen. Obviously, I could not go, so I asked John Cohn, Cindy's husband, to go in my place to study what I believe was the future of elite fitness. That fall, I also asked Cindy to plan and run my coaching sessions for my collegiate team with John's expertise as a backdrop to help us evolve into a more modern fitness culture. With John's calibrated and expert advice and Cindy's confident practice plans galvanized through leadership qualities that she had forged from a lifetime of successes, we won the 2012 National Championship in an event where everyone was playing for my wife. Looking back on what was the worst year of my life, Cindy turned it into a championship celebration. With her wonderful loyalty to me and my family and the Tar Heel culture she helped build. The following year, as head coach of the NWSL Portland Thorns, she won the professional championship to cap off one of the greatest back-to-back coaching successes in American soccer history. I absolutely loved coaching her. What I loved about her is in this transition period to where we are now as a U.S. women's national team, and all of you guys that are watching us play right now, we have gone to a completely different level. There was a period when we were beating teams with our athleticism and with basically an aggression and a lack of sophistication. And there was a transition player that helped us cross the line. And those of you that were watching the video of watching her play, she's the one that brought it to us. In the old days, a quality female player would run a defender 1v1 and have such superior agility and athleticism, cut it, accelerate in a different direction, and that's the way we were beating players early. Now, it's different. Now everyone's an athlete in the teams we play against, and it required a greater sophistication. The transition player for the U.S. women's national team is sitting right there. She played with sophistication, part of it born by her natural proclivity to serve everything with the outside of her foot. Why? Because she was pigeon-toed. And what a sophisticated level of the game she brought to us by not beating people with raw athleticism, but beating them with a sophistication that absolutely separated her, which is where the women's game is going now. The other thing I absolutely loved about her is she required no motivation. She had this quality that I stole from a great Southern author called The Gift of Fury. Some of the great players have this capacity whenever they need it to hit a button and their game goes to a completely different level. And that was Cindy Parlow. And when we look at all the great Hall of Fame players and coaches across the world, the one that comes to mind for me that embodies both is the extraordinary Johan Cruyff, who had a Hall of Fame career as a player and then replicated as a coach at Barcelona. Cindy Parlow has that. She has the Hall of Fame playing career, but she has a coaching career to match. She has coached at all levels in this country. She's also absolutely fearless. In this period when now CTE is becoming an issue, she brought it forward before it was popular. She started speaking about the concussion issues in our game when everyone was trying to get everyone to keep quiet about it to preserve our game. And I admire her for it. She's gone on more State Department visits than any player I've ever coached. This last summer, she took one of my kids to Africa to explore something in leadership in a country that took my kid to her potential, and I love her for it. I would like to think that in the souls of all these extraordinary high achievers that are being inducted here today, that at their core, they are beyond their resumes. I would like to think that what drives their value is principle-centered living, shaped by what and who they care about, shaped by how they positively inspire their cultures, because that has eternal weight. Thank you, Cindy, for coming to my rescue that terrible year, for coaching a team that played for my wife's life and gave me the only championship ring I will ever wear. Welcome, Cindy, to the National Soccer Hall of Fame.
Anson, thank you so much. One of the worst things about asking Anson to do my induction is that I have to follow him. But one of my fondest memories of Anson is it was my sophomore year of college, and Anson would meet with us and talk about our playing careers and our performance and what we could do better, but he also talked to us about our future, our current grades, and then what we were going to look to do after college. And I remember Anson telling me, you know, Cindy, I think you should coach. You'd be a great coach. And as a true 18-year-old, I looked at him and said, okay. And I remember walking away from that meeting saying, that guy has no idea what he's talking about. And here I am over 20 years later, and have been coaching ever since I retired from playing. So Anson, thanks for your insight, as well as your friendship and mentorship. What a great event. This is really amazing. Thank you to everyone here. Thank you for everyone who voted for me. Thanks to the U.S. Soccer, to the Hunt family, and to the Hall of Fame. Congrats to my fellow inductees. You all are very deserving. Don Garber, Brad Friedel, Dr. Bob, and the one and only Tiffeny Milbrett. It's so cool to be able to be inducted with one of my teammates and friends. You know, as I was thinking about what to talk about today, what I kept coming back to were the people. The people that have supported me, challenged me, lifted me up, and paved the path for me. There are so many that have helped me get here today to where I could stand before you and receive this amazing award. A special thanks to those that came before me, that paved the path. Billie Jean King, Mary Harvey, Michelle Akers, Julie Foudy, Mia Hamm, Carla Overbeck, and many more. The sacrifices you all made and the standard that you set for me and for the ones to come after me was truly amazing. To my coaches, I've been so fortunate to have so many great coaches. My club coach, Mike Mitchner, my ODP coach, Randy Evans, my high school coach, Coach Klingenberg, my pro coach, Tom Stone, Anson and Dino at UNC, and Tony, Lauren, Greg, and April on the national team. Thank you all so much for believing in me, for giving me the opportunity to play, and for pushing me to be the best player I possibly could be. I know I couldn't always be the easiest player to coach, although Anson made me look like it was really easy. To my teammates, half of which are already in the Hall of Fame, which is pretty amazing. I've had so many great teammates from my youth days to UNC, to the pro team, all the way to the national team. And while winning regional championships, national championships, World Cups, gold medals, we're all incredible. What I'll forever carry with me are the moments in the locker rooms, the hours in the locker rooms, and hotels, and restaurants, and traveling around the country. Because they taught me so many things throughout my career. You know, I joined the national team when I was 17, so I was able to spend many formative years around some of the best people and the best leaders in the world. To share a few stories about my teammates, on my first trip with the national team, I was 17, and as everyone has said, I didn't speak very much. And they roomed me with Mia Hamm. So I'm 17. I still have a poster of her up on my wall at home at this point. And now I'm rooming with Mia Hamm, and I don't know the social norms when you're on a national team trip and rooming with the Mia Hamm. And so she gets a phone call. And I was like, do I stay in the room? Do I leave the room? If I leave the room, how long do I leave? And then in the morning, do I brush my teeth first, or do I let her brush her teeth first? What's the protocol here? But Mia, being the ultimate teammate, just put me at ease immediately and welcomed me onto the team because she joined the team at age 15, so she knew how it felt. And then Carla Overbeck, I call her my captain for life. She taught me what a true leader is. And that's just to name a couple of instances with my teammates. But they have helped shape who I am today. To my club, North Carolina FC, thank you for supporting me. You know, coaches have a great opportunity to truly impact people's lives in a positive way. And this is why I've stayed in coaching for so long. And NCFC believes in my vision that coaches are educators, and we have a responsibility to not only coach the athlete, but to coach the person. And thank you to Steve, Gary, and John for being here today to support me. I would like to say thank you to all the players that I've coached and their families. Thank you for teaching me every day, for trusting me, but most of all for making my family a part of your family. I truly cherish my time on the field with the kids, and I love teaching and guiding them in soccer and in life. In the words of the great Tony DeCicco, he would always tell us at national team camp, he'd yell at, "I love my job." And we all thought he was crazy, but now I get it. I absolutely love my job. To Goals for Girls and its founder, Ian Oliver, thank you for giving me the opportunity to travel to developing countries to help women and young girls learn about our game and all the life lessons that you can learn through it. And to two of my very best friends who flew in today, surprised me, I did not know they were coming, Heather and Danielle. One of my favorite stories about Heather is she was getting married on July 3rd, 1999. So I had a little something going on during the month of July in 1999. And she asked me to be in her wedding, and I told her I didn't think I could, that we had this little World Cup going on. And it was the day before the semifinal. And boy, was she not happy with me. But luckily, once the tournament kicked off and she realized what it was all about, because she was not a soccer person, she promptly called me and said she finally understood, and I was forever forgiven. And till this day, we are best friends. And Danielle Slayton, so life on the national team isn't always glamorous, and there are some days where you just really are not looking forward to practice. And on those days, Danielle was always by my side, dragging me out by my ponytail and encouraging me that today was going to be a great day and it was an opportunity for us both to get better. And so thank you both for your friendship. And Danielle, thank you for forgiving me for breaking your nose. To my family, to my parents, you guys have been my rock. You have supported me, encouraged me along the way. You allowed me to leave home a year early when I know you weren't ready for it, entrusted Anson to take care of me at the young age of 17 to join UNC. So thank you for all the sacrifices you have made. And to my brothers, Rick, Joe, and Larry, my youngest brother, Larry, is here today. We were latchkey kids. And so one of the great things about being a latchkey kid is that you have this window of unsupervised time before your parents get home. And Mom and Dad, don't worry, we used it very wisely every day. We became innovators. So what we did is we created all sorts of games and competitions. But the thing is they all seem to have punching, kicking, and hitting each other in some way, shape, or form. And to this day, my brothers take all the credit for my success on the soccer field because they made me the tough athlete that I am today. But seriously, my brothers have been my biggest fans, and I love that you are here today, Larry, and with your kids, Hudson and Harper. It's so great to celebrate this moment with you. And to the love of my life, John, thank you for always believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself, and for supporting me. You are an amazing husband and father, and life is so much more fun with you by my side, and I love watching you with our son. To our son, Steve, thank you for coming into this world and immediately changing our lives for the better. I hope that you will be as lucky as I have been, to grow up surrounded by love and encouragement, to dream big, to embrace failure and learn from it, and to do something you love. Unfortunately, I can't share the moments from my playing career with you, but I do get to share the people. To all of you who have helped me get to this point, I hope to have your love, support, and encouragement for the next 40 years of my life. You know, when I look back on my playing career and coaching career, so much of who I am stems from my experience in our wonderful game. My values were instilled in me at a young age, and then were reinforced through my years playing soccer. Perseverance, hard work, integrity, love, tolerance, respect, compassion, and last but not least, service. I would like to share a few of the things that I've learned from our game. First, the people on your team are much more important than the players on your team. Carla Overbeck and Julie Foudy taught me a great lesson at my first training camp with the national team. I was a quiet kid, and the two captains came into my hotel room and sat on the end of my bed and talked with me for 30 minutes. I should say talked at me, because I don't think I responded or said a single word. But in this moment, they taught me something that I will never forget. Because the whole time they were talking to me, I was wondering, why are they in my room and talking to me? I'm just this 16, 17-year-old kid. But I realized that it didn't matter if I was 16 or 17 or the veteran on the team, the worst player or the best player, that every person on the team should be treated with compassion and respect, because they all hold great value. There is no substitution for integrity and hard work. One of the great things about joining the national team at 17 was that I spent so many years with these great people. And while everyone was very talented, what I was most impressed by was how hard everyone worked and the level of integrity that everyone held themselves to. I remember numerous fights in practice, whether the ball was inbounds or out of bounds and whose ball it was, whether it was a goal or not a goal. And it wasn't that they were so competitive that they were willing to cheat. They would have put their lives on the line and swear that it was their ball. And it was just such an amazing environment to be a part of. Third, behind every successful athlete is a team of people supporting them. Parents, friends, mentors, administrators, managers, athletic trainers, doctors. I am so grateful for my support team, but I wish I had seen much less of my doctors. To quote Einstein, "The more I know, the more I realize how much I don't know." I am a believer that I can learn something from everyone. I try to learn every day from my colleagues, friends, and players. By learning every day, life never gets boring. Soccer is a universal language and can and should be used to build bridges, increase tolerance of others, and teach life skills. Let's continue to use our game to make the world a better place. Wanting to be the best and being a great team player can both be accomplished at the same time. I was so competitive as a kid and wanted to be the best player on every team, and I wanted to win every game, that I rarely took the time to support others on my team. As you saw in the video, it wasn't until I got on the national team that I actually had the attitude that you saw Julie and Carla talking about. It was the first time I was able to look outside of myself and truly see the value in each of my teammates and to genuinely want all of them to succeed, whether it meant they took my starting position or not. Everyone has the ability to make a positive impact on someone's life. No matter how old you are, what your title is, or how much money you have, you can choose to positively impact others' lives. And last but not least, my secret to a great life is to surround yourself with people who make you laugh, challenge you to be better, and love you unconditionally. Thank you.
Congratulations. That was tremendous. Well, when you say his name, all you have to do is say the name, you are encompassing a generation of American soccer history. Brad Friedel. He firmly planted the stars and stripes in England as no American has, with 450 appearances in goal at the top level. 23, think of it, 23 professional seasons, 82 caps for the national side. No surprise at all, certainly, that he is here today in his first year of eligibility. Brad Friedel.
If you talk about all-time goalkeepers in American history, Brad Friedel's the name we say.
Without hesitation, he's the best athlete that I've ever been around.
Brad brought freakish athleticism to that position. You know, he's 6'4", he's lightning quick to the ground and back up. He had ridiculously long arms, which meant he could get to most balls, you know, and a lot of other goalkeepers couldn't. From a mentality standpoint, he was a winner.
I think the one word is competitive. He always wants to win, no matter what he does, and he is determined to be the best that he possibly can.
His work ethic was top-notch.
He was always the first to arrive, first to work in the machine, first to work on the pitch, and that was a very good example for everyone.
As a teammate, he gained the respect of everybody around him all the time, and so whenever Brad had something to say, people listened.
His leadership and his talk from the back helped teams stay calm. He was composed. Yeah, when you think about Brad Friedel, you look at the longevity of his career.
He played 20-plus years professionally at the highest level. There's very few athletes in any sport that can do that.
3 World Cups, 2 Olympics, 310 games in the EPL.
Brad Friedel becomes a record breaker today. It's his 167th consecutive Premier League appearance, surpassing David James.
Brad Friedel clawing it out.
Well, he proves again and again why he's a top-class keeper.
Brad will go down as being one of the best U.S. soccer players of all time.
I was proud to be a teammate with him, proud to be his friend, and I want to congratulate Brad on getting inducted into the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame.
To present Brad Friedel for induction, it's only fitting to have another keeper. Tim Harris coached Brad at UCLA. He earned a cap in his own right for the United States and played through 6 indoor seasons. He's currently the president of business operations and the chief operating officer for the Los Angeles Lakers. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Harris.
Thank you. Tonight in Los Angeles, we are unveiling a pretty good basketball player from Ohio. But I told him that I'm going to miss because we're unveiling another pretty decent athlete from Ohio here. And you can't imagine the pressure it is to present Brad Friedel, because this is not a man who likes to talk about himself. So the challenge to adequately present him, yet not talk longer than he will, is incredible. But I'll do my best. You know, sports provides us with some wonderful examples of perfection. You have the perfect game in baseball, of course the hole-in-one in golf, and there's the 300 in bowling, which I learned is called an Andy Variapapa. For goalkeepers, the North Star of excellence is a constant chasing of the number 0. Brad Friedel spent well over 20 years chasing the number 0. You see, Brad felt that if he could help his teammates to give away 0 crosses or 0 shots, then you would have 0 pressure, and 0 pressure means 0 goals. But he knew the guys on the other side were good and those things would happen. And so he approached it and he said, if I can give up 0 rebounds, if I bobble 0 crosses, if I concede 0 corners, if I misplay 0 back passes, if I can be perfect and make 0 mistakes, then maybe, just maybe, we'll give up 0 goals. And if we give up 0 goals, we have 0 chance of losing. You know, the great ones often perfect their craft in the shadows when we're not watching. And Brad was no different. And I'll give you an example. When he was at UCLA, a friend of his said, hey, will you come with me? I want to run the stairs at the track one night at Drake Stadium. And Brad said, sure, I'll go. And so they went to the track, and she's running the stairs. And it's in complete darkness, and she wonders what Brad is doing. And she looks, and she can see that he's in the infield of the track on the grass. And he had found some tape, and he had balled up the tape, and he had set it off to one side, in the grass, in the dark. And he's taking a step, and he's diving, and he's collecting it, this ball of tape. And then he's setting it off to the other side. and he's taking a step and he's diving and he's collecting it. Side to side to side to side. No coach, no cone, no ball, no structure. Just this incredible drive to seek the number 0. But an interesting thing happened in his odyssey to chase the number 0 is he achieved a lot of things that weren't 0. One championship at UCLA, 2 All-American awards at UCLA, winner of the Herman Award, and for most, that would be a career in and of itself. But he wasn't done. He'd play on 2 Olympic teams. He'd play on 3 World Cup teams. He'd appear 82 times with the full team and have 82 caps. Professionally, he played 23 years, 17 of them in England. In 17 seasons in England, he appeared 450 times across all competitions. That's a record for an American, not likely to be broken. He had 132 shutouts in England, so about 1 in every 4. And the one that blows my mind is 310 consecutive Premier League starts. 310 consecutive Premier League starts. Now, most of you know, but for those that don't, the Premier League is 38 games. Now, I went to public school, but I know, and Sunil's going to help me later, but I know that 38 into 310 is a lot of years. It's a lot of years. That's a record, not by an American, not by just a goalkeeper, but by anyone. Like another one, not likely to be broken. Now, when Brad first started out in the early 90s, he and I made an arrangement that we wouldn't take stock of his career until it was over. Not after 1 year, not after 5, not after 10. He would focus on the job at hand. And then when it was all done, when his career was over and the dust had settled, he and I, we would sit down and we would look at the ledger. And yet, in a great way, we hadn't had that conversation because that conversation had to take place tonight. Because tonight, Brad gets to wrap a bow around this amazing playing career. Here's this amazing goalkeeper who spent his life in constant pursuit of the number 0, and he's rewarded with 1 invite into this amazing hall. And so it's with immeasurable honor and no small amount of pride that I introduce for induction into the National Soccer Hall of Fame my friend Brad Friedel.
All right, now I'm old, I get to use these. That's how it goes. JP, I know you're a legend now. I'm still not giving you the team. So I apologize for that. Another thing that I want to get straight before we start, and this is proof now because it's out there on the little screens. So you see my little boy's hair right there. That was because of me, not because of my wife. That was because of me, and it's out there. Now, what a tremendous honor it is to be here. Would like to congratulate all the inductees. I mean, between Cindy and Tiffany, I think you could have gotten a few more caps for the national team. You know, over 350, but that's not bad. Dr. Bob, who we've known for a long, long time, congratulations. Don Garber, you're doing outstanding things with the league. Well done. And to the Hunt family, FC Dallas, I think the staff I saw, I don't know if Oscar and them are still here. I know they have a game. Tremendous staff, tremendous club, FC Dallas. The Hunt family, who I played for at Columbus for a short while, and what a truly, truly remarkable venue and building that you've set in the city of Frisco. I know the time, the effort, the money that's gone into it. Truly remarkable. When Tab Ramos surprised me with this nomination for induction into the Hall of Fame, you start to think a little bit what you want to say. Are you going to go through all the things that happened in the U.S., all the things that happened in the world, where I played, whether it's in Denmark, whether it's in Istanbul, whether it's here in the United States? And I thought it was probably fitting to break it down into 4 different sections. One would be the haters and the doubters. And those of you that know me know that I'll take all that on board. One would be the sacrifices of the fear of failure. One would be the players themselves, and the others would be the helpers along the way. I heard Cindy say it, I've heard others say it. We don't get here on our own, that's for sure. So on the haters and the doubters, 2 things happened to me one early in my life and one early in my career. So as I was 13 years old and I was walking out of school one day, I heard this, Friedel! It was like a drill sergeant. Get back here! I turned around, and for Jeff Agus over there, John Harks, they'll know my personality. So this was the varsity American football coach who tells me, we have a meeting right now. And I said, first of all, my name is Brad. It's not Friedel. Second of all, I'm playing soccer next year. How on earth would you play soccer? You will amount to absolutely nothing in your life if you play soccer. And anyone who's from the Midwest, maybe even Ohio, it's a meat and potato kind of place. It is American football, basketball, baseball. And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. And I walked out, and that was it. And I was playing soccer. Second thing that happened to me early in my career, I signed for Galatasaray. I don't know if anyone has ever been over to Istanbul. I don't know if anyone's ever been to a Galatasaray-Fenerbahce game. If you can play in that derby, and if you can live in that environment, you can play and you can live anywhere in the world. But my first week there, I sit down, I walk into the locker room. You're only allowed 3 foreigners at that time. And one of the players who speaks a little bit of English comes over, sits next to me, and puts his arm around me. And he says, that's my best friend over there. And it was the other goalkeeper. And he goes, you're not wanted here, and you're not needed here. And that's the welcome. So very early in my life and very, very early in my career, I knew what it took, and I knew I had what it took inside to persevere through those times. Because not everyone wants to like you, not everyone will like you, not everyone will love you, but you have to earn every ounce of respect that you get in this game. And sometimes you have to start at the bottom level to get up to the top. And those were 2 great learning lessons early on in life. When you get into the sacrifices, and I kind of put this into a category of sacrifices and fear of failure. I still have the fear of failure today. It's what spurns me on. But they're little things, like Dr. Macknick over here. He wouldn't have any idea why, or he probably would. He'd probably think it was because of the money. When I was in college, that I would go work at his camps. It had nothing to do with the money. It had everything to do with wanting to put myself in front of the national team goalkeeping coach. And when I got to his camp, you better believe I had a fear of failure, so I was going to work as hard as I could to impress him. And that's the way things operated in my life. Mr. Harris over there, the things that I used to do, this guy could get right up in here, right in your head, like you wouldn't believe. If I made a mistake in a game, I'd be at training working on replicating that mistake 100 times, 200 times, 300 times. It's a fear of failure. And I guess to put my professional life into perspective with the fear of failure, I was playing at Galatasaray and we were in the cup final. Fenerbahce Stadium, 55,000 people. The stadium was full at about 12 noon. Kickoff was 8 p.m. You knew your fans were there. We only had probably 3,000 fans in the stadium, and there were riots that were happening all over the city. We end up winning the game, and my coach, Graham Souness at the time, a Scottish legend of a player, legend of a coach, now an incredibly gifted pundit, goes and grabs the largest Galatasaray flag that you could possibly imagine that one individual could hold, and he goes and he stakes it in the middle of Fenerbahce's field. If you Google it today, you'll see it there. As we're getting ready to lift the cup, everything from the stadium starts raining down on us. The bottles, the rocks, anything that was sharp, anything that could hurt us. The police shields came over us. We got escorted off the podium. We weren't allowed to lift the cup. 3 hours in the locker room. We finally get on our bus. All the windows broken out. They break the police lines, try to tip the bus over. As we finally get out of there, the only thing that went through my mind, we won the cup. You know, I was with Tom Meredith earlier today. It's not too dissimilar to Haiti, to what happens in Costa Rica sometimes. But the fear of losing, the fear of failing, the sacrifices that we give weren't really sacrifices to me. And I loved every minute of that. The players. Okay. So while we're all here, you know that I don't mind the doubters and the haters. So let's just get it out in the open. Who was better, me, Casey, or Tony? We can all debate it right now. It's no problem, no. The fact of the matter is, this debate goes on and on and on. The great thing about it, as we're all friends today, is that we made each other better. If you have that competition, you can go places. What we have in this country now is competition. It's starting to get there, and we can go places. In the rest of the world, they have competition, and it is fierce, and we can go places. No goalkeeper can stand up here, especially a goalkeeper. Hard even for an outfield player. But no goalkeeper can stand here and openly accept an honor, like getting inducted into a Hall of Fame, being voted Player of the Year without good players in front of them. It's impossible. You need that defender to block that extra angle. You need someone to save it off the line when you mess up. You need a striker to score a goal. We're not going to score the goal too often, although I think I've scored more left-footed goals than you, Harksey. I got the one. Not you, Goose. You're left-footed. So, but you need the players in front of you, and the amount of players that I was so fortunate to play with, both American and international, is truly remarkable. And someone was telling me the other day that, yeah, you, just me, I paved the way for American players. Absolutely false. Absolutely false. There were players when we did not have a professional league here, like a John Harkes, like an Eric Winalda, like a Roy Wegerle, a Tom Dooley, an Ernie Stewart who was already over there, Tab Ramos, Pete Vermes. These guys paved the way for me. They're the ones that unlocked the first door. They're the ones that opened it the first time. Myself and Claudio Reyna and Joe Max Moore and Brian McBride's, Eddie Lewis's, John O'Brien's, we may have stepped through and really taken our chance, but those guys are the ones. I think it's important to remember there's always going to be someone to do something better than us. Tim mentioned that some records might not be broken. All records are there to be broken. It might take time, and I hope somebody does, and I hope another American breaks the record. I hope every American player breaks every other American player's record. That means that the sport is on the rise. And I think that would be a tremendous achievement. And then with the helpers and the tremendous friends that you make along the way, you do need help. When you're young, petulant, yes, I thought I'd get a chuckle over at that table maybe, because I was petulant at one time. You do need a lot of help along the way. You know, whether it's from the youth days, what an incredible support system that I had at home. Mom, Dad, got my aunt and uncle over there, cousin, family over here, my wife Tracy, Isabella, Ray, if you're allowed to look this way now, Allegra. Really lucky stuff when you're growing up. Some names that don't mean anything to you, mean everything to me. Juan Gonzalez, Bay Soccer Club, East West Soccer Club. Unknowns in the game to a lot of you, people that started my career. We'll never forget them. Tom Scott, my ice hockey coach. Rich Voyers, a basketball coach. All these people, huge influences on my life. When you get to college, and this is something that the players today have that I never had. So the way I got scouted was not through an incredible academy system like FC Dallas has. The way that I got scouted was Dean Wurzburger missed his flight, and he went back to a small tournament in Virginia. And he saw this athletic goalkeeper playing, and he called Ziggy Schmid. And a special mention has to go out to Ziggy because he helped start my career. Not only start my career, but then kickstart it. He was the one that made the phone calls on my behalf. He was the one that created an incredible environment at UCLA. I know other great environments were at other colleges, but Ziggy was the one that believed in me, and he should have a great mention here today. But if not for that missed flight, who knows? I could have been at Cleveland State University, and I could have become an architect. You have no idea. That was how it was back then. And look what everyone has created nowadays. Mention the amount of academy players that are in the league. Mention the amount of facilities, the stadiums, the time, the effort, the money that everyone has brought into the game. It is truly remarkable to see the change from when I went away to what I came back to. We had, Tim. Sorry, you're the next name on the list. And here we go. So this guy. I don't know how many people in college would do this, but this was the type of work ethic that I probably had in me, but that he brought out in me. So true story. 5 o'clock in the morning would be my wake-up call. I didn't have a car, so I borrowed one from a friend. I lived in Los Angeles. Never rained in Los Angeles, right? It was a VW Cabriolet. I left the top open in the night. It rained all night. I wake up. I have to go to train with him to get at Live Oak Park at 5:30 in the morning in Manhattan Beach. And there's water. There are inches of water in the car. So what do? I get in the car and I go. And I meet with them, and I park up on a little angle. And as I park, he hears this and all the water. And I was driving barefoot, and the water, I had water lines up to about my knees. I mean, it was ridiculous. And he looked there, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm not missing training with you. You'll kill me." And he was like, and that's where it was. Another true story with Mr. Harris, World Cup game. We're playing Mexico in Korea. Biggest game, United States soccer's history probably at the time, other than maybe the Trinidad game getting into the World Cup. A ball goes up in the air that I should have easily caught, and I go to punch it, and I had a bad punch, and they should have scored off the rebound. I'm not worried about what they're saying back in England. I'm not worried about what the teammates think. I'm not worried about what Bruce Arena's thinking. I am not worried about what the Mexican public's thinking. I'm not worried about what the American public's thinking. Right there on the field in front of hundreds of millions of people, I was worried what you would catch the ball. I knew it was there. And that's what Tim did. Those are the people that help spurn you on, urge you on. When you get into the national teams, a few names. The first 2 years of my national team career, and I never got called into a national team at the young ages. I was always playing basketball or ice hockey, something of that nature. And it was Ziggy who called Lothar Osianda. And Lothar and Colin Lindores and Pat Vanderlee and Dan Bunya, the first 2 years, never forget how much help, and yes, I worked hard, and yes, I played well for them, but the help that they gave, the phone calls they gave, to then go on to Bora Miljutinovic, one of the craziest head coaches that I have ever had in my life, stay friends today because of the little chain of command. Ziggy to Lothar, Lothar to Bora. You get on to Clive Charles after that, the late Clive Charles, 2000 Olympics. We finished in 4th place. Tremendous history with Clive. And then we move on to you, Sunil. Sunil and I have known each other for a long, long time. And what Sunil probably doesn't realize or take credit for, and the Huns probably don't realize or take credit for, is I was at Galatasaray. I had 6 months left on my contract. They offered me a 2-year extension. Liverpool was interested in me, and that was my boyhood dream, to go play for Liverpool. We didn't play our international games on international fixture dates, and I was getting abused in the media every time I left Galatasaray to come and play for the United States. So we worked hard to create a deal for me to come back to Columbus. I got my caps. I had to say some things, Clark, I know, that when I was getting out the next step off to Liverpool, that was in my younger days. But it was Sunil and the Huns that really came together and helped my career get off the ground. If I don't get the work permit, I do not have 15 or 17 years in the Premier League. That is for sure, and I will never forget that. When I get into the professional game, there's one name in particular I need to thank, and that's Graham Souness. Had a profound impact on my career and an influence, both as a coach and a mentor. We're friends today. For everyone at Liverpool, Galatasaray, Brøndby, Blackburn, Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Columbus Crew, I thank everybody for all the help that they gave me. I always felt over the years that the perception of me, as I wasn't coming back and playing in MLS, I wasn't coming back and I retired a little bit early from the national team, that I was perhaps an MLS hater or a disliker of US soccer. And I'm here to tell you all, the reality couldn't have been further from the truth. I was amazed at the progress when I came back. I'm humbled to have been chosen by the Crafts and won't stop working until my staff and I bring them success. I'm very excited about the future for soccer in the US, and I think the upside is bigger than in any other country in the entire world. I truly believe that. So for all the haters and doubters, thank you for making me strong. The fear of failure is always going to be with me. It was an absolute honor to play with all the players. And as Tom Kaiser once said, the only thing that he was probably right about is I wouldn't have amounted to anything, but it had nothing to do with soccer if I didn't have all the help in the room. Thank you.
Just beautiful, Brad. How do you describe Tiffeny Milbrett? Well, a former teammate told me that, well, Tiffeny was a sports car, low to the ground, able to accelerate like a Porsche, switch directions like Messi, and just as importantly, a great independent thinker, which you would expect from someone so proudly from Portland. Here's how Tiffeny has traveled to this honor.
She had this awesome ability to just be real, to be her, to be okay with being her. And I know, especially for women, how hard that is to be comfortable in who you are.
What made Tiffeny Milbrett special was that she was her own person, and I think determined to be unique, which is, I think, a part of her charm.
Milbrett checks up four, and she hooks in the back of the net.
Tiffany's coach was Clive Charles. Clive and Tiff had a special bond. She just took everything that Clive told her and put it into practice and just became a better and better player.
Well, there's two things. One was innate goal-scoring ability, but the other thing that she brought to teams was she was really scary when she turned and faced players in the box. She had that ability like a Maradona or a Messi, just that slight body movement and that pace to go past players and to create all sorts of mayhem.
You know, she has a motor that just goes and goes and goes. She's quick, she's fast. You never knew what she was going to do. I think she didn't even know what she was going to do, and she was impossible to defend.
Her technical speed is probably still the best that I've ever seen. Her ability to run with the ball, she was just as fast, if not faster, with the ball at her feet. She was unpredictable. That was awesome to play against and to be alongside of.
Now Fawcett making a run from the right. Fawcett coming into the penalty area, slides it, into the net. A goal, USA! Tiffeny Milbrett. The United States has done it. They have won the Olympic gold medal. The celebration is on.
She's a player that took this team on her shoulders for many years. I mean, that was Tiffeny. Tiffeny was big in big moments all the time.
She's accomplished everything you can accomplish as a footballer. She's an incredible, important part of our history and our success as a women's national team.
It's such a well-deserved and long overdue honor. I'm just so happy for her as a teammate and friend.
To present Tiffeny for induction now into the hall, it's my pleasure to introduce a coach who twice took Australia to the Women's World Cup, each time advancing to the quarterfinals. He also was head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tom Sermanni.
Good evening. Hopefully I won't need a translator tonight. I'll try not to lapse into my Glaswegian brogue. Tiffeny was a born goal scorer from the moment she actually laced up her first pair of soccer boots. And that was back in the days where soccer boots were black leather and lasted for a couple of seasons. She had an outstanding goal-scoring career, and many of her records still stand today. I was actually going to mention her record of 103 goals at the University of Portland. But as I was coming up here, Christine Sinclair just reminded me that she beat that record in 2005. So thanks, Christine. Who invited the Canadians? Millie was a significant member of that golden generation of women national team players going from about the mid-90s through to the early 2000s. It's a star-studded team and a group that shaped a landscape for future US women's national teams and for the game of women's soccer throughout the world. Due to the dynamics and the personalities in that team and the great stars in that team, Tiffany's talents and accomplishments were often overshadowed, and she often failed to get the recognition and accolades that her performances merited during that time. But that was out in the public arena. The people within the game knew how significant a player she was and what contributions she brought to the team during that particular era. Like most great goal scorers, Tiffeny was instinctive. She wasn't manufactured. She was a maverick. She wasn't moderate. She was a player who had distinctive character. She was a player who had the drive, passion, and the personalities that all great players exhibit. She played with her heart on her sleeve. She was never afraid to call a spade a spade. She called it as it is. And she still does today. And that's what makes her so unique. All in all, she's basically a winner. She played best when coaches gave her the freedom to follow her instincts and had the trust and confidence in her to be herself. That's how she was as a player. That's how she is as a person. That's how she is as a coach today. Perhaps the most important decision that Tiff made during her time was connecting with the great Clive Charles at the University of Portland. And he became her true mentor. He understood her temperament, nurtured her talent, and trusted in her. He was truly her coach and father figure, and the person who shaped her into the great player that she became. It was just sad that we lost him way too young. Ultimately, the measure of greatness in a player is how they perform on the world stage. If you look at Tiff's record, 100 goals in 200 internationals, the winning goal in the 1996 Olympic Games in that epic match against China, top goal scorer in the 99 World Cup. We talk about the 99 World Cup, what comes to mind is Brandy Chastain. What doesn't come to mind is that Tiff was the leading goal scorer for the US in that 1999 World Cup. 2 goals at the gold medal game at the Sydney Olympics, one of them in the last gasps of injury time to take the game into extra time against Norway. In the first season of the WUSA, 16 goals in 21 games. I had the stressful pleasure of being on the opposition bench in the semi-finals of that league, of that season, as one of the coaches at the Bay Area Cyber Race. We managed to prevail 4-3, but the score was the Bay Area Cyber Race 4, Tiffeny Milbrett 3. She scored a hat-trick against us that day and basically terrorised us for 90 minutes. And that's what Millie did. And as I say, ultimately, a player's greatness is measured on how they do in the world stage. Can they come up big in the big moments and the big games? And you look at Tiffeny Milbrett, and you look at her record, Tiffeny came up big in the big games. And that's what made her not just an outstanding player, but truly one of the world's best ever female players. It's a great privilege and a pleasure that Tiffeny asked me to be up here and speak on her behalf tonight. And I would like to welcome Tiffeny up here to be inducted into the US Soccer Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Move these down just a little bit. Kind of was nervous just a little bit. I haven't measured a blazer in probably like 20 years, so I just was like, I don't know, whatever. So I was kind of nervous it was going to be the scene out of Tommy Boy with the fat guy in a little coat. But it's not. It's actually it's probably bigger, too big. Just want to say congratulations to all honored tonight. It's really amazing when you feel the honor is all yours and you're a small part of the evening of being honored. So it's quite confusing a little bit. Obviously CP, great teammate and friend that I played with. Big story, well, that I remember the most. Obviously, she's 6'9", and I'm, my 4'8". And it was World Cup, and I scored, and just as you hear from some of my teammates, I don't do anything at less than 100% speed. So just running toward her. She's just right there. Yeah, come on, jump on me, you can. And then I just see her changing, her eyes changing as she realizes, like, I am not going to be able to handle this. I just leap and we just tumble. I just took her out. So it was amazing. You remember that? She's just like, yeah. Like, just please stop. Dr. Bob, amazing. obviously known you quite a few years, and now we're in the same state of Colorado. Brad, watching you play, I am not going to answer Casey or Brad because I'm from University of Portland, so we'll let everyone else settle that, but nonetheless, amazing for you. Dawn, just met you last night. Amazing accomplishments for you in helping build the sport. And then my favorite play-by-play, JP, good to see you again. Congratulations. Thank you, Tommy, for presenting me tonight. Obviously, and thank you for being one of the best coaches I've ever had as well. I didn't understand a word you said, so that is why you're number one, right? Thank you. Obviously, everybody here is living life, and they have their own journey, their own story, but to truly be a part of a sporting journey on the soccer field is really extraordinary. It doesn't mean it's always amazing in terms of a positive piece. Obviously, as you've heard, it's very extraordinary because it is very challenging and demanding. In fact, it can be downright brutal. But again, that's the nature of competition, and those that truly enjoy being a part of that are never afraid of one thing. I mean, the reason why you're there is because you want to play. So for me, the easiest part was the field, and the journey and the extraordinary parts of things was always off the field that you had to deal with. So I just was really thankful for that dream of being able to live out being the player at the highest level that I wanted to be. The job that I was able to do, I wanted to score goals more than anything. I remember, I think it was, we were gearing up 2003 World Cup, and meaning no disrespect whatsoever, but this is just how I was. And my coaches at the time sat me down at individual meetings, which didn't really enjoy those too much, but they're just like, you know, we want to really talk to you about the focus of what we want from you defending. And I was like, well, I don't really care about defending. Can we please, I'll do my part, but can we please talk about how you're going to get me in positions to score goals and do the job that way? So my biggest passion was always putting the ball in the back of the net. So I'm very thankful that I continued to do so. I think for me, the only thing I ever wanted to do was reach my highest personal level. You know, and I know it's so many, even being a coach of young people wanting to strive to be their best. I know so many want this, they do. But it is really, truly a miracle when it does happen for the individual. So I feel like I have lived a small miracle, being able to reach the level that I dreamed about. Then thankful for the growth of the women's game. Obviously being on the field from that perspective was pretty unbelievable. We started out, I mean, I went to my first, I didn't make the 91 World Cup team. I didn't even believe I would, but I went to a pre-World Cup tour. April Heinrichs got injured, so they're like, oh, we need to bring one more player. We can't waste the ticket. So let's, you know, I was young. I think I was 18, just finished my freshman year in college. And from that moment to leaving the game in 2006, I mean, it's just, the growth was unbelievable, especially throughout the 96 Olympic run, 99 run. One story that always sticks with me through 99 is we made it past Germany, then we beat Brazil in the semifinals. This was for 99. And we are in Pasadena now in our, I think back then, I think it was like a solid 5-6 days before the final. So we had a lot of prep days, and we just we're stunned. We're pulling up for training, and it's police escorts, it's cordoned off, it's police after police, it's thousands of people around the training field. And we were in the bus, and I happened to be sitting next to Akers at the time, and so we're getting off, and it's just like, we're all just stunned. And she just turns to me, she's like, do you feel like you're an animal at a zoo right now? And it's like, kind of like, yeah, I really do. It was that shocking for us. And the women's players, and I'm sure the men's players too, because the growth has been tremendous for both sides, but especially through our perspective, those moments were definitely really cool, because you know how much the game was growing with the increasing fervor from the fans, the media, and quite frankly, the fans in the stands, the amount of people there. So thankful for that. Tremendous support through the years. Obviously, you cannot discount that. Those are the people that help keep you sane. They help keep you humble. And they are the ones that you're able to get back on the field the next day when times are tough. So for me, obviously, coaches, very important, keeping you on your toes, helping you reach your highest level that even you can't even see. They can see more in you. Obviously, Clive Charles, one of my biggest influences, Coach Sermani over there, two of the great ones for me. My mom, big support, single mom of two, raising my brother and I, and just always there on the sidelines after her early start and her long work days for us. So thank you, Mom. Yeah. And to your friends who always say you were amazing, even when you weren't, right? So you gotta love your friends totally lying to you. Fans and media, obviously that extra feeling you get when you know they love watching you play. That's a really neat thing. Them being appreciative of what you are expressing on the field is really special. Obviously teammates, they're a massive part of where I am right now today. And again, to have been on the same field as all those women, driven, wanting the best for themselves, sacrificing, obviously banding together, wanting the same things I did, is absolutely my honor to have played with them. My psychologist has been a life changer, and going to him since 2003, been amazing, huge support. And as I wind up my speech here for you guys, I'm really grateful to be a part of continuing to grow the sport. You know, the soccer knowledge, the experiences that I can share in a small way. I'm just a coach now. I get to be a part of helping the next generation in their pursuits of their highest level. And I'm really grateful that come Tuesday, my reality check hits me hard, coming from this high to now taking questions about why Sally didn't play, why didn't you start, Susie? Can we please meet? We want feedback. Yeah, so that'll start Tuesday. I've held it off as long as I can. And I just want to say thank you to everyone in the room. Obviously, I don't have the experiences that some of the men do with getting to know all of the really amazing people that have helped soccer through the years. But it's really, really humbling to be a small part in this room. I hope that we have the game is in its infinite growth stage, and we need a lot of vision and visionaries to help us continue to grow that on both sides, the men and the women. But thank you for all your support, watching our games, and thank you for being a part of my honor tonight. Very, very, very wonderful to be sharing this with you all. And let's keep influencing the sport we all so dearly care about and love. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's so well said. To punctuate tonight's ceremony, once again, Dan Flynn.
Thank you. Congrats to the induction class of 2018 and JP, Colin Collin Joe's Media Award. But I'd like to leave you with a thought. There's an old saying, you can never go home. But I'd like to think with the 50-year reunion of the original NASL and the seeds they planted, I'd like to think we brought them home. And I think we should all be proud that we brought the Hall of Fame home to Frisco, Texas. But we did so in the spirit of Lamar Hunt. So Narma, Clark, and Danny, thank you for your incredible investment in our sport. See you in 2019.
Thank you, Dan. Dinner is arriving. A reminder, the concert with Imagine Dragons, and I'm told the hall will be remaining open later this evening following the concert. If you've not had a chance to enjoy what is an astounding experience, please do so. Thank you for your attention. Congratulations to all, and eat heartily.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are staying at the Westin, we will